Come sit in on the book launch party for Leah Jennings, aka at author Ellie Jennings, on how she went from being an overworked and filled with despair M&A associate to full-time published author. Spoiler alert, Will was part of her story, and she describes her journey and how our work together contributed with helping her go from timid to bold. As she says, I'm no longer going to be the one to limit myself. Hear her read from an expert from her Paris in a Heartbeat series and why her dedication in the book made me burst into tears. Such an honor to help Leah celebrate and spread the word about her amazing work in the world. This is especially for you if you have any dreams of becoming a writer. You came into Will, what year was it? Was it 2020?
It was fall 2019.
Fall 2019. And then we went into the pandemic. Will you share a little bit about where you were when we first met?
I joined Will in fall 2019. I was a fifth year associate. I was starting my fifth year. I had done some shuffling from one firm in New York through LA and then finally Chicago. And I was at another big law firm in Chicago, corporate group. You all know the deal, corporate group. I hit a point where I was just like, okay, like this is not just something, the pressure, the amount of the workload, everyone here is familiar with that. And I just really needed help. I did some Googling at 3 a.m., found your name, Elena, made a call, signed up. I think this all happened within a few days. I was desperate. And I think that was the first time that I was ever around anybody who said, you know what, your feelings, your pain, what you're going through is legitimate. There's nothing wrong with you. There may be another way for you to live your life, your one precious life. And so I started the Will journey and doing those exercises, which were really great for me. And I know that the SIVS exercise really stood out to me because that was the first time I'd ever examined myself outside of the mold I was supposed to be. So spending some time really figuring out my values and what do I enjoy? What do I want to do? And then the pandemic happened, which in a way, as horrible as it was, I'm so glad I had Will during the pandemic because I think we all needed each other at that time. That was the beginning of my transition out of big law because everything had slowed down enough that I could look for other opportunities, have those informational calls, who you know who, and start doing the networking. You just don't have time when you're in the midst of deals closing and chaos reigning. The pandemic was a curse and a blessing because I had that time to do that. And then I went in-house, and I knew when I went in-house that wasn't going to be my final step. I just needed to take a step, and taking a step was huge and even scary because I was like, okay, I'm doing it, leaving big law. And I just remember you and I having calls, Elena, about how am I going to talk to the partner? How am I going to break it to them? I'm taking a step back. And I was so scared. And you were the only person, and the women in Will were the only people that I could talk to and be like, oh my God, I'm doing this now. So that was immense support for me. And then I was in-house for 2 years as corporate counsel, and still law, still pretty tough, but I had more time, and that was really valuable. I needed more time to really figure out, it was mentioned that, I signed up for a writing class. I wouldn't have had space to think about a writing class while I was in big law, but getting my nights back and my weekends back and my mental health back, it helped me to say, okay, I have some space to start exploring outside of the law. So I took that writing class beginning of 2022, and that was sort of the beginning of my transition towards creativity writing.
Yes.
There's the Creator Circle, which the game changer.
So I remember it was the spring of 2022 where the idea for the Creator Circle came to me, and it's based on the Julia Cameron book, The Artist's Way. And I was like, I want to do this book. I know so many women in Will would love to do this book, would benefit from doing this book too. So I put together a mastermind, and you came in, and many of the women on the call here today came into that. And we started in July of 2022. So you were already taking a writing class then. Yeah. And then I'd love to hear you describe the Creator Circle in your own words.
So actually, it was sort of like a miracle, Elena, when you decided to do it, because my writing class had just ended. I kind of had lost the support of my classmates. So now I was on my own again. And right at that time, you're I'm having a sort of, I think you call it a state of will, or state of, kind of state.
Yeah, it was. I did a 5-year state of the union kind of will recap at that spring also. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you said it, I just felt tingles. I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need, because the reality is community is so important and having support in anything is so important. So joined Creator Circle, and it was amazing and beautiful and is amazing. Being in a smaller group with not only women lawyers, but women lawyers who want to be creators was really powerful, because it's like finally finding that tribe of people who totally get it. Like they know where you've been, they know where you're going. And I'm like, oh, these are my people. That was amazing. Like, because it wasn't always easy, and be able to share triumphs and like struggling. And there's a lot of like life changes I was struggling with, stepping away from law, people in my life that were not supportive. They're like, oh, you can't leave law. You can't leave that big paycheck. That's not right. And so having a place where I could to be honest was so powerful. And as you know, the Artist Way completely changed my life.
So in what ways did the Artist Way and doing it inside the Creator Circle change your life?
I think the biggest thing, the tools that we learn in the Artist Way about, doing morning pages, doing artist dates, introspective work, all of those things. Like, it was for the first time, I didn't realize how muted my own voice was, how I was not listening to my intuition. I was very tuned in to what my community and partners and mentors and what everyone else was telling me I was supposed to do. And the Artist Way really promotes like sort of a pathway back to self, because deeper creativity requires you to get really honest with what you want and build that muscle of trusting yourself, which is not something I was encouraged to do for most of my life. And so doing the morning pages and the exercises and drawing boundaries, learning when to say no, protecting this new budding creativity and kind of learning the tools like, okay, these people I don't share this with, but these are the people that I share it with. It was also necessary, because as a young creator, it's very easy to give up, to quit, to be too scared to try. And I think the Artist Way, it's just full of wisdom. I wish I could quote everything in the book, but all I can say is every week we went through, there was something so valuable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they get it. Julia Cameron gets it. Like, this is the wisdom that I needed to really go from being a lawyer to being a creator.
Chills, full body chills. I remember, kind of early on in the Creator Circle, there was a family member who was like, you can, bless her heart, like not saying nothing, but just who you started really setting boundaries with this person. And they were like, well, you should be reading the news. Or what do you think about this? And you were like, I don't care. And you finally said something to them. So would you just speak a little bit about how you started then sharing with people in your life that was changing within you?
I think, again, doing the Artist Way kind of brought all of my truth to the surface that I had repressed for a long time. And I was very comfortable stepping into the mold of, okay, of course, I'm very interested in that topic when I'm not interested in that topic. But once, the floodgates were unlocked, I could no longer be a false version of myself. And I got this boldness that came out of it felt like nowhere, but it was really just kind of now being brought to the surface. And I was finally able to say, you know what, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. I don't enjoy that. And this particular family member really meant well, but the reality was she always wanted to be a lawyer herself. That was a lost dream of hers. I didn't notice how she was kind of living through me. And I finally had to say, I'm so sorry that this is something that you love, but it's not something I love. It's not something I want. And I had to get very vocal, and I had to draw boundaries and say, we are no longer going to talk about this. And it took a long time because, they come back and say, well, I kind of miss talking about that. What's going on with law? And I'm like, we don't talk about that. That's over. We're not talking about that.
We don't talk about Bruno or something. You did that. How was that for you?
It was very empowering. I don't know other people's dynamics are in their family, but I was always raised that, you respect your elders and you don't speak up. You don't say what you mean. And it was very empowering to as an adult to say, I'm sorry, this is not who I am. I know that's who you want me to be. This is not who I am. There was anger there. There was frustration. And at the end of the day, I just had to just double down. I think it probably took about 6 months when I got the point. But I think it also built respect from their point of view. It's like, okay, she's standing up. She's letting me know these are her boundaries. That was huge. Being able to draw boundaries and let people know this is the line, don't cross it. Never done that before. I learned that it's so important when you're trying something new, whether it's being creative or an entrepreneur or whatever it is, something scary, it's so important to keep out the negativity. Like, this is my safe space and these are the people who are welcome here. And all these people that I love you, but you're not welcome here. And I think that helped me as I bridged that gap.
And you just had to keep enforcing that boundary and keep reinforcing. So if you would take us a little further into your creative process, because Artist Way and the Creative Circle created some structure and opened the floodgates, but you dove in. You've been swimming downriver. So I'd love to hear about that if you would share.
Looking back, I would say to any lawyer, any woman lawyer in particular, is as lawyers, we have skills. We know how to do a project. We know how to plan. We know how to problem solve. We have all these invaluable skills that prepare us to do something like this, to start a business, to write a book. We have the skills, and I really tapped into that. I'm like, okay, I can do this. If I can run a deal, I can write a book. I can figure this out. And so it wasn't like some grand leap. I always try to emphasize that. It wasn't magical. It wasn't like, and then I just sat down and wrote the whole book one day. It was slow. I started by still being in house. I started carving out some time. I'm like, okay, these 2 hours before work, I'm going to go to my chair outside. I'm going to write, or, whenever it was, a couple hours on the weekend. I carved that time out and I was consistent about it. And I started I just committed to that, because that's the biggest thing is when you start something great, but seeing it through, it's hard. It is. And so just committing to that and taking more and more steps. I think another great thing about the Creator Circle is we really encourage each other to be bold and brave and to start taking some risks. Like, I started reaching out to other authors. Like, I even saying I was a writer, huge step to just say, I'm a writer.
I remember you went to a reading in Chicago, right? And I think it was and you introduced yourself to the author, and that was the first time.
The first time was scary. The first time I messaged an author and said, hi, I'm an author. Can I talk to you? Super scary. One of the ladies in the Creator Circle who's on this call, we challenged each other. We were accountability partners. We challenged each other to do something like this. I think she reached out to an art gallery owner. So we challenged each other. Let's go for it. What do we have to lose? It's the mindset of oh, I'm too scared, and changing that to what do I have to lose? What's the best thing that could happen if I try? And the cool thing is creators are so nice. They want to talk to you. They're like, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about being a writer. It kind of built that muscle. The more I did it, the more I went to conferences, the more I went to workshops. I just kept taking steps. It started small, no grand leap, but I started going to book signings, and just the more I stepped in the creativity space, the more comfortable I felt. All these people that I was meeting now became sort of my unofficial mentors of okay, so I'm not reinventing the wheel. Somebody has done what I want to do. They wanted help. It's all about opening your mouth and saying, hey, could you talk to me for 30 minutes about this thing? It was months of that. So the turning point was September 2022. I was continuing to write and go to these conferences and things, but I was still working. And the thing about the Artist Way is going to force you to really look at your life and look at the things that just aren't serving you anymore. And the ultimate change was, in order to make space for this new beautiful thing, I had to get rid of the old unworkable thing. It became I could no longer ignore it. I remember I was on this call talking about European data law. I think it was it's data protection of some sort. I was on this call with the attorneys in my group, and I just put the phone on mute and I started sobbing. I'm like, this cannot be my life. This is not who I am. I got up and I walked away from the computer and I think I went to the park and I just said, there's got to be more.
Wait, did you leave them on hold? Were they?
I put them on hold. I just myself.
Literally walked out of my office. You put yourself on mute. You left the call.
We were all working from home, so
I know, but they didn't know that you had dropped off. And it didn't really matter. It's so I can just say,
I was I gotta get out of here. I think the more the truth comes to the surface, is the lie suddenly becomes this unbearable thing. And so I think at that point I said, okay, so let's make a plan. Because one of the most powerful things I learned in Will was turning I can't do that into how can I do that? Yes. There are practical realities to making a change like this. My first thing was, let's sit down and do a budget. I talked to my husband. I said, you know what? I got to do this because I'd rather try. I'd rather go for broke with this and not have regrets than to let it pass me by because I was too scared. I want to be candid about the fact that he wasn't supportive at first, but when he saw my commitment, he said, I've come up with a 2-year plan. Here's what I'm going to do. He'd already seen me getting up week after week, month after month to carve out time for myself. He's like, okay, if you're serious, like, let's try it. If you have to go back, if you end up saying in 2 years, I'm going back, it's not the end of the world. You can go back. I could go back if I wanted to, which I don't. But I could go back knowing I took a chance on me, and that's what I needed to do.
He got on board. So you guys created a budget for a 2-year kind of runway.
2-year runway. Yeah. And I served notice. And this wasn't just serving notice to go to another opportunity. This is like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I was scared.
So you left your in-house job. You went from Big Law to in-house and then left with no other job except your writing, becoming a full-time writer.
Yeah, I never felt so excited. I was like, I remember people saying, well, what are you going to do next? I'm like, nothing, no job lined up. The HR woman's like, well, what company are you going to? No company. I'm just working for myself now. I've never felt better in my life, honestly, because up until that point, everything I had done was for someone else. And this was the first time I was doing something for myself. I said to myself, win or lose, this is the proudest moment of my life.
I got to quell at this for a moment because, that's huge for, like you said, raised to be a good girl, raised to respect your elders, to live through for your auntie or whoever the person was who wished she had been able to be a lawyer and and to leave the kind of known, safe, quote unquote things and to feel that pride and excitement. Like this is the proudest moment of my life.
And this is where I think the 3-4 years of Will sort of runway to this moment was so pivotal because when I started Will, I was already in the mindset of like, one day I'm going. It may not be next year or the year after, but one day I'm getting out of here to do I don't know what yet. And so I was already in the mindset of like planning, like, what is that going to look like, And so then, by the time the moment came, I felt prepared to do it. When we first met in 2019, I wasn't ready.
No, and like we've talked about and you've shared with me, my believing that you could be a writer, that it was like, okay, all right.
Thank you for reminding me of that because I really want to touch on that. You were the first person to not only ask me what I really wanted out of life without some pre-programmed answer, but you were the first person that told me I could do it. And that was so powerful. I just was like, oh my gosh, really? Like I had no idea that I could do anything but be a lawyer because everyone in my life was like, oh no, you can't leave. You got to be a lawyer. Look at your high-powered career, so that was so powerful. And I held on to that. And you also sent me this postcard during Creator Circle that says you're doing great. And I still have it on my artist altar over there. And I look at it. And when I feel down, I look at it and I'm like, no, Lena thinks I can do this. So
You're great. Look, we're all out here going for it. I am too, like having your own business. It is a creative endeavor. I know you can do it because but it takes the believing before the seeing. And one of the things, I'm in this group and we met last night and one of the women referenced Julie Cameron and she said, it's a group of believing mirrors. So then, I was reflecting that back to you. And then you were in the Creator Circle where you had this whole group of women reflecting back to you. Like, I'm going to reach out to this artist. I'm going to reach out to this. We can do it. You can do it.
It's so powerful. It really is so powerful to have somebody that not only knows your truth, but it's like, and that's fine. That's great. Go for it.
And go for it. So now you're free from any job aside from, you're really going from lawyer to full-time writer. Mm-hmm. And how did you make that happen?
The thing that I learned is when you're trying something new, try everything. There's no wrong answers. You're learning. You're a beginner. The Artist Way is great for that, really being like, you're a beginner. It's okay. You can make mistakes. You can try again. So from September 2022 until, well, really now, it was just trying stuff. I signed up for classes. I tried 3 different writing groups before I found the right one, trying to develop a routine that wasn't just about, okay, I'm writing for 50 hours a week. It's like, no. I'm going to write 4 to 6 hours and then I'm going to do I'm going to do my artist date. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to cook dinner for my family. I'm going to read some Artist Way. I'm going to read some books like, Untamed. I'm going to read something. So it's like more of a holistic thing. It was creating a routine that was holistic and balanced because I never had balance before. What started with 1 or 2 phone calls, I found a whole community of writers. Started, my social media. So just stepping into the community of readers and what is this world that I'm trying to be a part of. Everything I did, every single step felt like breaking through a glass ceiling. Like now I'm talking to editors. Now I'm talking to web designers. Now I'm talking to cover artists. I think the biggest thing and one of the powerful things about the Artist Way is I was bold. Before, my whole life was timid and like, forge ahead, don't make any waves. I'm like, why can't I make waves? Why can't I talk to this USA Today bestseller? Why not? One of the editors I worked with was actually editor for my favorite author. And I'm like, why not reach out? She can say no, but she's like, no, I'd love to look at your book. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's looking at my book. It was just a series of like, I'm not going to be the one to limit myself.
There we go.
I don't know if this is what the patriarchy has taught us or if it's, whatever it is, but it's like, why not go for the biggest thing possible? You may not get it, but don't be the reason you didn't get it. And so, I finished the book in September 2023, sent it off to the editors, spent the next 6 months. This was the real thing that I didn't anticipate. It's not just about writing the book, it's building a business. So that was a enterprise, which was great because it's like, I spent all this time promoting other people's businesses. Now I get to have my own business, which is great.
Building an audience, like you said, you've been active on Instagram at author Leah Jennings and building a business. Tell us sort of the launch plan and how we can support you in the launch. And then let's hear you do a little reading. How about it?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you're
going to launch a book. Like you're saying, it's marketing. And marketing is, I like to think of marketing as putting yourself out there, your product or your service to solve someone else's problem. There are a lot of people who they want to read a romance novel that's beautiful and juicy and meaningful and inspiring. And it gives them something in their life.
So the launch plans, if you follow me on Instagram or are subscribed to my newsletter, I've been talking about the book for quite a while now. The book is launching on May 24th. It will be available on Kindle Unlimited and Amazon. The paperback's already available, but the ebook will be launched and it'll be out there in the world. In terms of support, everybody here has already supported me so much, even just by showing up today. A lot of you have been with me for a while now, and you've all contributed so much. Some of you have already, read bits of the book. And so everyone here has already done so much, and I appreciate everybody in the room. In terms of what you can do to support, you guys are already doing it, liking the posts, commenting, sharing, saying things like, I read the book and it's great, like all that stuff. You guys are amazing, already doing so much. A lot of you already have paperback copies, so
review on Amazon.
Right. If you have read the book, one thing you can do is review on Amazon. That's like one of the biggest things that helps authors on Amazon is to drop a review like, it was great, I enjoyed it, blah, 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 whatever you want to say about it. Goodreads if you're on there. So reviews help. That's a tangible thing that you could do if you have read the book, and you will feel comfortable doing that. If there's another woman, female friend, male friend, if they're into it, who you think they might enjoy this book, just saying, hey, by the way, I read this book, here's a link, maybe you want to check it out. That helps, word of mouth. Otherwise, you guys are amazing.
Do you have well, first of all, thank you for the reading. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey with us so generously. When I saw the dedication in the book, Leah, I burst into tears. I don't think we've talked about it. We haven't seen each other since I received my copy. So Leah dedicated the book to me. It says, for Elena, my mentor, this book exists because of you. And I literally burst completely into tears.
I'm pretty sure I cried at some point as I was writing this in the acknowledgements. I meant every word. Some people dedicate it to their friends or their spouse or all these other things. And I told my husband, I'm like, I think I'm going to dedicate this to Elena. She really is the reason this book exists.
Well, very, very received with so much love and appreciation. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elena. I've said this so many times, but working with you has changed my whole life, and the women in this room, I couldn't have asked for a better support group and friends, really, because I feel like you all are my friends now. So thank you.